from the President's State of the Nation address?
Well, definitely I'm not looking forward to a 4-hour address as much as he wants to give 4 hours. I understand. Siguro si Pangulong Marcos, alam niya daming constituencies 31 million yung bumoto sa kanya, 100 million plus ang may umaasa sa kanya. Ang daming problema. I understand yung, I think yung sense of obligation niya to explain everything. So, the first thing I want to see is wala siguro masyadong ad-lib. And all we have seen that in the past presidents. Clean, short, precise, straight to the point. Less rhetoric, more substance. We saw a lot of that in the inauguration already. Pangalawa, I want to see where he's going to diverge and where he's going to have continuity with the former president. That has to be clear to me. Kasi,
why?
Well, because no administration is perfect. I think there were certain things with the previous administration that can definitely be improved upon. For instance, yung drug war. I think we're all against drugs, but methods matter. So yung issue na extrajudicial killings, yung lack of due process or due diligence, human rights issues, the very things that he didn't talk about in inauguration, human rights, corruption, justice, things that he didn't touch much on during inauguration. Gusto ko makita dito sa inauguration, as a Sona speech
niya. Do you think it'll be part of it?
I think he'll touch on them. Now, whether it's pro forma lang, para lang ganun, or more engaging in an emotional, conviction-based way, let's see. Not to mention, of course, issues with corruption. What is he going to do, for instance, with the Presidential Commission, good governance, right? Which has targeted his family for quite a long time, right? What about on issues like taxes? Is he going to increase taxes or not? I think marami sa ating taong bayan gusto nila malaman yan. Kasi a month or two ago, Secretary Jokno was confident, hindi natin kailangan. But now the picture is quite different. Yeah. Baka medyo kailangan na. Sino ita-target muna? Big companies pa or lahat tayo? So there are also going to be things close to our pockets that I want to hear about.
Was there a statement made recently by Secretary Diokno that new taxes...
Secretary Diokno maintained more than a month ago that hindi natin kailangan.
Exactly.
But Secretary Balisacan perhaps has suggested perhaps we have to make some adjustments on the tax front. And I don't think Secretary Diokno will disagree with him given the developments on the ground, the international environment, domestic environment. So I want to see kung tataas ang buwis, paano yan? Sino matatarget dyan? Saan tayo mag-move? Is it on online transactions, for instance? How much the SMEs will be affected? How much the big conglomerates will be affected? Or will this be more like more efficient tax collection in terms of tax effort?
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you there. I spoke to Senator Franklin Drilon about this. Are we talking about new taxes? Because he said we need to generate more funds. So I asked him, are we talking about new taxes or a more efficient tax collection?
Yeah.
And then he said sa tagal-tagal na niyang politician, palagi na pag-uusapan yan, mahirap talaga yung sasabihin mong efficient tax collection. Not in those words, but that was the theme.
Yeah.
To which he said new taxes.
Yeah, so it's rather you expand the base, same efficiency, or you keep the base, enhance the efficiency. You move horizontal or vertical. But the reality, Pinky, is that the Philippines has very low tax collection efficiency. Our tax effort, that's a technical term, is around 15 to 16%. It's up to 30-35% in France, for instance, in some of the more efficient countries. Even compared to similar countries like us, emerging markets, ang natatalong lang natin, mga katulad ng Colombia and Indonesia. So there's a lot of room for improvement on tax efficiency or tax effort. But
so the solution would be?
Well, I mean, you streamline the process, more effective enforcement of tax laws, right? Give more jurisdiction power, enforcement power to the BIR and other agencies. But the other thing kasi is, Pinky, maraming mga tax breaks din na binibigay sa mga malalaking kumpanya. Yung sa tax on online transaction, which is big because of the digital economy, it's an infrastructure still under development. So I think there are new areas of taxation that the government can move in. Ako naman, the way that President Marcos can go around it, if I were his advisor, I would say this. Yes, pwede namin itaas yung taxes. Kailangan talaga yan. But ita-target namin yung mga mas may kaya or pwede magbayad. At the same time, what we raise in additional, we'll put into subsidies. Because Secretary Jokno said up to 90 billion pesos ang pwede pumunta sa Pantawid Pamilya, the 4Ps, sa fuel subsidy. So there's a way to balance this out, to calibrate it, whether you don't hurt those who are most vulnerable, and then you, kumbaga, progressive taxation.
So let me ask you this. Don't you think that the middle class is already hurting as well?
Oh, definitely they are. Okay. That's why, siguro, kung ikaw yung presidente, sino ang most expendable, right? Doon mo malalaman eh. That's why you want specifications eh. So my fear sometimes that the president will not want to give specification because they don't want to alienate the specific constituencies. But we are looking at the dark clouds gathering over the horizon and it's almost inevitable. Something has to give eh. You cannot have it all, di ba? Hindi pwede mas mataas yung subsidy, at the same time mataas yung debt mo, yung growth rate mo naman hindi ganun kataas. At the same time, you don't want to raise taxes. It's kind of hard to do all of that. Unless he has a very efficient plan of enhancing tax collection.
Unless he's thinking of something that you haven't thought of, or I haven't thought
exactly.
of as well.
Which I look forward to.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has brilliant technocrats there. So, kaya nga, for me kasi, yun ang tinatanong ng tao, tataas ba yung buwis or hindi?
Yeah.
Kasi malapit sa bulsa natin eh. I mean, food security, alam natin, it will take some time before we get agricultural self-sufficiency.
No, but before we go to a possible additional taxes,
Right.
let's talk about food. Inflation is number one. Doon sa talagang gustong tugunan ng taong bayan, based on the latest Pulse Asia survey,
Right.
the first was inflation. So of course, inflation, rising prices of basic goods. How can the president find a way
Right.
to stop the increase and kind of make it a little bit more affordable, if it's even still affordable to
And
the
he's the agriculture
Filipino?
secretary too, which makes him
Exactly.
special, right? So there's going to be short, medium term, long term, right? Long term, we
I want to talk about short. Let's
Right, in
talk
6
about
years, of
short.
course, we want to make sure na hindi tayo nag-import ng 84% ng ating rice from Vietnam lang. I mean, like one country is responsible for 84%. That's quite a lot of dependency. In the short run, cushion. So buy fertilizers directly from some of our partners.
is his plan?
UAE, Russia, Indonesia, among others. Other measures to make sure na yung reliance natin on Thailand, Vietnam, etc., we can get it at a good price, that the price will not increase. Number 3, ano yung mga subsidies na binibigay mo sa domestic producers to make sure meron tayong backup plan kasi hindi ka rin pwede umasa abroad, di ba? And number 4, if you can give us an update about, siguro the situation is improving in terms of global commodity markets. Perhaps he has information or their government-to-government deals, right, that we don't know much about and that can provide cushion. So the short one is cushion. The medium term is enhancing our food security. Long term is achieving self-sufficiency in the food security front.
With taking on the agriculture portfolio, what has been clear to you with regards to his policies looking into a looming food crisis?
Yes, I think, first of all, the president recognizes yung problema sa Department of Agriculture is not only a technocratic one. I'm sure Secretary Balisacan, who, that PhD on agriculture economics, has a lot of ideas. But you also need political will. Political will in the sense of you're willing to go against intermediaries, predatory intermediaries, against cartels. A lot of people have been taking advantage of the situation. Now, we had problems before when we had quantitative restrictions. We also have some problem now with this no restrictions, this tax tarification law. So the other thing I want to say is, anong gagawin nila sa tax tarification law? Because I think Senator Escudero, even Senator JV, has indicated that if this is hurting our domestic agriculture, maybe amendments ang kailangan. I think Sandra was talking about amendments. Maybe this is where one area we can look at. Benjamin Joko and some technocrats are saying, maybe ang focus now is bring down the prices. So kahit medyo na hurting domestic producers, if you help the consumers, why not? So you clearly see, Pinky, here,
Yeah.
you cannot have it both ways. So there are going to be trade-offs here. So I want to see, for instance, ano sasabihin niya sa rice tarification law.
Yeah.
Sigurado ako maraming mga magsasaka, milyones na tao na depende sa agriculture sector are going to also watch.
Yeah.
Itong rice tarification law, ano mangyari yan? Is he going to go after the cartels? How is he going to do that?
Is it working even? I mean, in terms of what? Taxes derived from the rice tarification law are supposed to help our farmers,
Right.
and yet the important thing really is to increase yield, higher yield
Right.
at a low production cost. One last thing you wanted to hear from him before you go.
Well, this is really closest to my heart, West Philippine Sea, right? One of the things I noticed with President Marcos on foreign policy, he's more like his father than President Duterte. He follows what you can call multi-vector foreign policy, right? He wants to keep good relationship with all major powers, not one at the expense of the other. Like one is pro-America, one is pro-China. No, he's trying to keep it good with all major powers. At the same time, make sure you get benefits from all, but minimum dependence on either of them. And this is relevant to the West Philippine Sea because dun sa West Philippine Sea, unlike President Duterte, he has been strong on the arbitration award. He also has been much warmer to America, right? I won't be surprised next year he'll visit the White House, the first Filipino president in more than a decade. And then at the same time with China, they canceled 3 railway projects or reconsidering that. So a recalibration and reboot is happening on foreign policy. So accusations that he's just another Duterte, China-friendly and all, it's not bearing through. He's more like his father. Because his father, we can say a lot about his domestic policy, but he was very tough on West Philippine Sea. He built one of the first airstrips in the area in 1977, 1978. He kept the Americans. He was friendly to China. He was friendly to the Soviet Union. I see more the father than the previous president. And in a way, that's an improvement to me.
So there's lots to find out. We'll see where the president will really not just center or focus on, but if it's definitely going to be more than an hour, we can expect him touching on a number, not
Yes.
a lot of issues that need to be.
But the tone matters eh. How much emphasis eh. Diba? Kasi some he has to say eh. Kasi presidente siya, diba? Pero makikita mo saan yung puso niya eh.
Saan yung emphasis?
Yung animated yung face niya. You can see that
Saan
eh.
yung ipaglalaban niya talaga?
Yung microsignals.
Importante sa kanya. Thank you to our political analyst, Richard Haydarian. Richard, I hope to see you again.
Pleasure, Pinky, as
We'll
always.
see you soon. Thank you.